lead. Georgia's huge.
Yeah.
Basically, RSBN's calling it already.
Yeah, I mean, RSBN
Let's do
is
it.
basically here, and they're basically called it, projecting that Donald Trump has been reelected. You look at Georgia, you look at North Carolina, you look at Pennsylvania, you look at Wisconsin. The numbers aren't there for her. There's no real path for her to win, and we haven't even talked about Nevada or Arizona, where Donald Trump is in the lead as well. And you talk about the early vote totals and the voter registration totals in those states before Election Day. It's very hard to imagine a path for Kamala Harris. Again, we have another situation where the Democratic cities of Milwaukee, they don't know how to run elections. Here we are, another election. Milwaukee County is completely butchered this election again. Meanwhile, in the state we're standing in right now, the third largest state, we got a full-on projection. Over 10 million votes were reported out less than 2 hours after the polls closed. And here in Milwaukee, they can't even get the polls in a city. It's absolutely incredible to see how Democrats do not know how to run elections. It's pathetic. Every state needs to look at Florida, take the statutes, take the laws, take the model, and implement it in every single state in the country. We would know the election results 2 hours after every single presidential race. You talked about the Senate. The Senate has slipped. Republicans are in control of the Senate.
Official.
Goodbye, Chuck Schumer. So you talk about Donald Trump winning. Still got to see what's happening in the House. I think the House may hold on too. Talk about judicial appointments. God forbid there's something wild. Donald Trump gets another bite at the apple with United States Supreme Court. You talk about the filibuster. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz already talked about it. If they were elected president and vice president and the Senate somehow stayed in Democrat control, they would have gotten rid of the filibuster, which would have meant stacking the Supreme Court,
Terrible.
which would have meant assault weapons ban, which would have meant a bunch of other crazy radical policies because they would have taken away that massive procedure of the filibuster. That failed today. The American people realized that the Democratic Party is way too radical to trust them with 4 more years and for control of the Senate. Tonight is a historic moment, and everyone here out the crowd, they're not too surprised. They live it every single day. The people where we're standing on this riser, you look left and you look right, they're the ones with the long faces. They're the ones that are actually surprised because they've been lying to you every single day about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And you know who didn't buy it? The American people didn't buy it. And now, it's 2016 all over again. The world is shocked, the mainstream media is shocked, and the American people will be better off starting January 20th.
Sweet, sweet victory is on its way. That's exactly right. As you look around on the media risers, there's long faces. People are upset. People are confused. They're very confused. They can't believe it. But we knew because we're on the ground with these people. The American people love Donald Trump. We saw it. We saw the lines for miles, cars for miles, the flags hanging out.
You leave D.C. and New York and L.A. and you realize that Republicans do exist and they vote. And then you talk to independents who are like, listen, say what you want about the economy. I don't feel it. Say what you want about the border. I feel it. And I've been talking to some people on the campaign. There's a sense around in the room that Donald Trump will potentially be addressing this room in a matter of minutes within this hour. His team is in his ear, showing him the very, very clear path for victory. And I think he will be ready to claim victory in a matter of minutes because the numbers are on in his favor. The math is the math. And they have realized that they beat all odds. And they have secured victory tonight.
This thing is too big to rig. That's so true. I'm so proud of Bernie Moreno of Ohio. I'm from the great state of Ohio. You know, I've been talking about it this whole campaign season. So thank you to everyone that got out and voted for Bernie Moreno to get Sherrod Brown out. He's been in office for almost 20 years. And what has he done for the state of Ohio? It was time for something new. And as you mentioned about the Senate before, talk about a balance of power and democracy. The Democrats want to act like they're the champions of democracy when they wanted to get rid of the filibuster and start passing all their radical bills without needing the 60-vote threshold. That's the opposite of being champions for democracy.
Right.
So they'll say something, and then in their actions, they do the opposite. So very, very proud of the Republicans for grabbing those Senate seats. We have Rick Scott in Florida, Deb Fischer, Bernie Moreno, Ted Cruz, Eric Hovde is on his way. 81% reporting for Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. Dave McCormick, 49.3%. Michigan, Mike Rogers,
Leading.
52%, but Mike Rogers is leading. So we are doing great across the board. Republicans showed out for this election. They voted up and down the ballot. They researched if there were issues on the ballot. Of course, they voted for Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm just too excited. This is
But see,
amazing.
there's going to be another conversation about polling, how wrong they got it. They released this bogus Iowa poll that we talked about recently, and then the Bernie Moreno poll, it wasn't until I think yesterday or the day before that they said now he's above the RCP average. He won by over 4 points, outside the margin of error. So it goes to show you that polling again got it wrong.
Right.
You look at states like Florida. I was looking at Donald Trump was going to only win the state by 5. He doubled it and then some. So I think the pollsters are going to end up looking at this again and saying, what did we get wrong? And the reality is Republican voters, especially Republican white males, do not answer pollsters. So I don't know how they correct that, because they're getting a whole bunch of people that aren't in the Republican Party. When they release these polls, many question if they're suppression polls. What is the intention behind a lot of these polls that show Donald Trump or Republicans not winning? Goes to, you kind of ask yourselves, why are they doing these things? But the American people kept their head down. They stay focused on the issues that are impacting their individual situations, and they voted accordingly. They didn't listen to these narratives. You see what happened, an historic level of support from the black community and from the Hispanic community for Donald Trump.
Right.
They didn't listen to CNN. They didn't listen to MSNBC. They didn't listen to ABC, who told them that Donald Trump is basically Hitler, who's going to put you back in chains. He's going to be a disaster for your family. They said, no, we lived Donald Trump for 4 years, and you're telling me that somehow he's going to be this horrible tyrant? He's going to be a threat to democracy when democracy was still intact for 4 years when he was president? No one believed the narratives.
Right.
They went in, they cast their ballot, they didn't talk to pollsters, they handled their business because Kamala Harris failed them. 3.5, almost 4 years, she has failed them as vice president. She didn't deserve 4 more years, and the entire American people said, you're not getting a promotion if we have something to say about it.
So true. And if you pay attention to t-shirts, yard signs, social media enthusiasm, and of course the cookie poll. I was telling you all about the cookie poll earlier. There's a bakery in the Philadelphia area that delivers cookies all over the country to all different states, so it's not just local. And they sold over 40,000 cookies for Donald Trump and only 2,500 for Kamala Harris.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about enthusiasm, momentum.
Right. I believe this more than the polls.
Right. The thing, I tweeted about it yesterday, earlier this morning. The Democrats fed us a lie that Kamala Harris was the greatest thing since sliced bread, to use a quote my mom would always say. She wasn't. There were no vibes.
Right.
There were no vibes. The enthusiasm was fake. It was all a hoax. There was no enthusiasm behind her campaign. They would stack these rallies with diehard Democrats that didn't represent the electorate in the state. They told us that she was running away with it, that she was this new wave, that she was going to turn the page on the darkness of Donald Trump. The American people didn't buy it. How are you going to tell us you're going to turn the page when you're literally the author? And they took the American people for fools.
Yep.
They took us for fools. That we're somehow going to ignore the fact that she's been vice president for the United States. And then they try to cheapen the role of vice president. Oh, well, vice president, you really don't do anything. You're just there. You're a figurehead. No, you were the border czar and you did nothing to secure the border. You stood there on every major consequential decision, like the Afghanistan withdrawal, and guess what? You were proud of it. So the American people are way smarter. The media and the Democrats underestimated them, and here they are today. They said, you didn't listen to us when we told you we weren't happy with the situation. You underestimated us. You took us for fools. And guess who has egg on their face today? Everyone that's around us. It's true.
Kamala Harris did not get any votes in the primaries. They
Zero.
voted for Joseph Biden to get back on the ballot. And of course, We all know what happened with that.
Yeah.
So she had no popularity or enthusiasm from the very beginning. And then as her rallies were going on and going on TV and whatever, there was very fabricated enthusiasm because it wasn't real. It was like an illusion.
Yeah.
It was an illusion of excitement for the campaign. And it didn't translate. It didn't translate to votes. We're seeing that right now. The American people have spoken. They don't exactly tell the pollsters what they actually vote, who they voted for. I've talked to a lot of people that said, I'm silently voting for Trump.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people that say, I don't even care anymore. I'm being vocal about my support for Trump. But a lot of people are very silent. So there still is that silent majority aspect that we've had since the 2016 election, but a lot more people have stood up and been vocal as well. But it goes to show that these pollsters are somehow cherry-picking data, they're manipulating and twisting things, and if you look back in the 2016 election, they gave Donald Trump a very slim chance of winning the presidency, and then we all know what happened that night. One of the best nights of my life. It was amazing. I loved it because I was laughed at, yelled at, bullied, and I still have been for the past almost 10 years, but especially in 2016, because the narrative was laughing at Trump supporters, laughing at, the people on TV, on The View, all those on the news, they were all laughing.
I didn't even think about The View.
Yeah.
Whoopi, how you doing? Joy, what's going on?
I wonder
Sunny
how they're
Houston.
doing tonight.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about The View.
Yep, so everyone was laughing, and then of course when we won, I was like, I told you. Yeah. I knew it. Yeah. I knew from the bottom of my soul that Trump was going to win. And here we are again in 2024.
We're in such a bubble, it's ridiculous. I'm thinking about it, it's kind of all settling in, right? I was at the White House during 2020, we thought we were going to win. Then whatever happened. But it seems like Kamala Harris's campaign took the 2016 playbook and the 2020 playbook, and they took every do not do again page from the book and threw out all the rest. They did every major mistake that was committed in 2016 and 2020 by calling half the country garbage or deplorables, telling the American people that their problems don't exist, hiding Kamala Harris and thinking that that was a good strategy. She didn't do a single media interview for like 78 days. And then they realized, wait, the American people don't know who this person is. Let's just load her up with media. Then they load her up with media, and she literally fumbled the bag on every single major interview. CBS 60 Minutes literally had to lie on her behalf and selectively edit her. And then Joe Rogan goes, hey, come out to Austin. I'll give you 3 hours like I gave you Donald Trump. She goes, not doing that. I'm going to do SNL instead. Completely fumbled the bag.
Right.
She has herself to blame. Her team has themselves to blame. And they also have the media to blame because they relied on the media to carry the water. And they didn't realize that the American people just aren't buying it anymore. They're just not.
Exactly. That's a great point about how they're using the same playbook from Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And then the Joe Biden, that campaign was crazy. And then they're just using the same things with Kamala Harris, and they thought it was going to translate. I really think that they just take the American voter for granted, and they think, oh, we have this in the bag no matter what. They don't feel like they have to earn Americans.
They're out of touch.
Very out of touch. Such a great point.
Yeah.
And I want to give a huge thank you to our friends over at Tax Network USA. So the October 15th deadline has passed. Are you prepared for what's coming? Do you owe back taxes? Are your tax returns still unfiled? Missed the deadline to file for an extension? Now that October 15th is behind us, the IRS may be ramping up enforcement. You could face wage garnishments, frozen bank accounts, or even property seizures if you haven't taken action yet. But there's still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and has filed over 10,000 tax returns. They specialize in helping people like you reduce their tax burdens, and they can help you too. Don't wait any longer. Visit the website tnusa.com/RSBN or call the phone number 1-800-357-1415 for a free consultation, and their experts will walk you through a few simple questions to see how much you can save. Act now before the IRS takes more aggressive steps. Take control today. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN or call 1-800-357-1415.
Yeah, and good news, tax relief is coming. Donald Trump is going to lower the taxes again, the corporate tax, the middle income taxes. Your taxes are going to go down again. Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts would have failed if Kamala Harris and the Senate won. That didn't happen. So your taxes are going to be low again because that's part of the platform for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Exactly, and I want to address some of these swing states from elections past.
We have a guest that may want to come on.
We do.
Right next to us. You guys ready?
Hey there.
So you all know this gentleman. I see he's drinking hot tea. He's drinking hot tea right now. They just hyped it up for Georgia. The man, he doesn't need you know him by his voice. I saw you drinking hot tea, it looked like.
Georgia, Georgia. They called it, baby.
Mind. It's called, how do you feel?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
This is the energy we need. So you're obviously going to be on the stage in a matter of, who knows?
Right after this, I'm going backstage and getting ready to perform for President Trump and for the entire country.
What's on the playlist? What's being sung
I'm not
tonight?
at liberty to say.
Okay.
And what that really means in Trump world is that whatever inspires the president in the moment and he wants to share with the whole country and the whole world, then that's what I'll be prepared to sing, whatever that is.
You know what I love is that the Democrats rolled out the red carpet for Lady Gaga, Lizzo, and then they find someone like you, true talent, that doesn't have to do all the extra. You come in here with a tuxedo, and you use your voice as the instrument.
Yes.
And you touch on religious songs, Ave Maria, Hallelujah, and just the majesty of your talent is captivating for a lot of us. We don't need Lizzo. We've got incredible opera from you, and it really, the people love you. Donald Trump loves you. First Lady Melania Trump loves you as well. It's probably a little premature. We want to see the numbers, but I think you're going to be on the stage at the inauguration. What do you think?
I think, all those betting websites, I think it's a pretty good bet.
Hey, well, can you imagine? You're going to be potentially on the National Mall singing to millions.
It's going to be fantastic and indeed a privilege for me to do so and to leverage the universal and unifying power of music to unite the country and unite the world behind President Trump's message.
Right. What is the Republican Party, this movement, done for you as an artist? Not a politician, not a pundit, but you're playing a role in our politics that's unique. What does it mean to you to be a part of the moment?
Well, I want to take the opportunity to highlight classical culture, classical music, the rich legacy of our Western traditions. Yeah. And I personally feel that the right has often forfeited the cultural space to the left. And it's one of my primary missions in life to correct that oversight and to inspire people with resources and vision on the right to make long-term investments in our culture, because that is what is going to be required.
Yeah, that's well said. And if you talk about anyone on the Republican side that's cut through that culture, not just in your field, but even black culture, Hispanic culture. I mean, Donald Trump has built a life of being a part of the culture, being a part of society, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of the curve. And his relationship with you is a hat tip to that culture that he loves.
Yes.
You know his music style.
I do.
I couldn't tell you what Kamala Harris likes. She said her favorite rapper alive was Tupac. And Tupac was dead before I was even born, I believe.
Well, maybe she got confused with the hologram. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Before I let you go, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you want to test the acoustics of the building for the millions of people at home? Just give a little taste of what's to come.
Vincenzo!
Well, everyone turned, and everyone was looking at us. that was just 3 seconds, and you're going to be on the stage for a while, and even bigger stages later to come.
Yes.
So thank you for making the time. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
God bless your musical instrument in the best way possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and God bless you, and God bless President Trump and the United States.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Megan, we'll get back here.
Beautiful voice. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
So we're going to end right now because, I mean, how can you follow that? We can't follow that. We're going to take a quick break from Washington, D.C., from West Palm Beach at the election night party. Vibes are high. We're going to send it back to the great state of Alabama, to our team over there. Guys, take it away. We'll be back soon.
That's right. Vibes are really high out there, Harrison and Megan. Thank you very much. I think we all kind of needed that to wake us up at 12:43 a.m. Eastern Time on the pathway to victory for President Donald J. Trump. Let me show you what he needs to do to take this election at this point. So you can tell here this is 2:30. That's the electoral vote count that we're currently watching from the AP. However, you see there on your screen, RSBN has called Georgia for President Trump. That brings that total from 2:30 to 2:46. So I'm really watching Pennsylvania because obviously these eastern states have been counting the votes. And this is where we're going to get our next answers. Pennsylvania continues to look good. That's where we have 19 electoral votes, all expected to go to President Donald J. Trump, where he is holding steady with 50.9% to 48.1%, with 87% of the votes now counted. So if he has that additional Pennsylvania, if he gets those electoral votes, that brings the total then to 265. After that, he only has to take one of 3 states in order to win. If he takes Michigan's 10, that pushes him to 275. Wisconsin's 10 pushes him to 275. Or he could just take Nevada, which we're still waiting on a vote count from Nevada, but with the 6 there, that would put him at 271. So the odds are really looking good for President Donald J. Trump at this point. We're excited, we're hopeful, and we're getting closer and closer to seeing the benefits of the hard work. This is a man who has done nonstop rallies. I don't think he took a day off for the last 35 days. And you can see what happens when his message was able to get out loud and clear. He swamped the vote. He made sure it was too big to rig. And at this point, it does look very likely like he is going to win the election. If you take a look at some of the headlines that are coming across the board from the opposition on the mainstream media side, like MSNBC, you can tell that they're very scared at this point, because when they see a map like this and then they do the math, it starts to look more and more likely like Donald J. Trump is going to win the whole thing. And he's pulling up the congressional races with him. We take a look at the Senate map now, even more red here to talk about. We know that Marsha Blackburn was the big winner in Tennessee, in Texas. It's been called now for Ted Cruz. We're looking better and better up in Wisconsin. I want to show you where we stand right now for Mike Rogers as well as Eric Hovde. He's at 50% of the vote. That's Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. In Michigan, Mike Rogers is at 50% of the vote with 56 now counted, so they're looking good. In the state of Pennsylvania, we're watching Bob Casey versus Dave McCormick. Dave McCormick at 49% of the vote. So President Trump, as we've all seen, is the tide that raises all boats. And I want to push it further down now and show you what's happening in the House. And there's some fantastic news to report. Look at California. Look at all the red that we're watching right now in California as they're still counting the votes. This is a lot of red for California. You see Kern County, which is notoriously, it's very well known as being a Republican area. Vince Fong won by 67% to 32%. That's basically the only House race that's been called in California right now, but these numbers are slowly but surely coming in. When it comes to Arizona, Paul Gosar is victorious. We love Paul Gosar, so we're really happy to see that. I want to take you a little bit further now to the north and show you what's happening in Wisconsin. Tom Tiffany, who we also love from the state of Wisconsin, he was definitely very active in President Trump's campaign in his rallying, and we're looking really good. Gentlemen, I'm going to send it back to you on the desk, but as we continue on, this journey just looks brighter and brighter for our victorious champion, President Donald J. Trump.
It appears that it will sit that way as well. Kent County and Grand Rapids will stay.
We are back live in West Palm Beach. Harrison Fields and Megan Kohler. Cedric Richmond just addressed the crowd in Kamala Harris headquarters in Washington, D.C. It was the we lost, but we don't want to say we lost, but we lost conversation to the number of supporters there in Washington, D.C. I literally just got off the phone with a dear friend who's crunching a lot of these numbers. He said it's 99.99999% chance Donald Trump has just been reelected president of the United States. Now, you have a lot of media organizations, the AP, New York Times, Politico. They're going to try to keep this window open before calling it. RSBN has already called it. I'll be interested to see what Fox News does. There's going to be a couple people that are just going to come out and say Trump has been reelected the 47th president of the United States because they're looking at the maps.
Exactly.
You've got some vote lingering, but not enough for Kamala Harris to go over the finish line. So I think a lot of people have kind of come to terms that Donald Trump did the impossible thing again. The only president to be reelected in non-consecutive terms since Grover Cleveland, a Democrat who was elected in the 1800s. Defeated all odds. I mean, 3 months ago, Donald Trump almost lost his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. July 13th. And here we are. Fox News just called Georgia. RSBN already called it. Now we're looking at the rest of the map. Arizona looks incredible. You have great notes, so I'm going to let you jump in, of course. Michigan looks great. Wisconsin looks great. Pennsylvania looks great. Nevada, they take 3 weeks to determine the election. But if they call Pennsylvania in a matter of hours, Nevada is a wrap.
Exactly.
It's all a wrap. But you have more details.
So President Trump, as of now, has 246 electoral votes since they called Georgia. He had 230 before, so 16 electoral votes on the map for him. He needs 24 more to secure that 270 mark. So basically, if we get Pennsylvania, which is 19 electoral votes, which is super leaning Trump right now, we have 19, and then we just need 5 more. And Arizona, Michigan, we already had that one. Wisconsin has 10, Nevada has 6. If he gets any of these swing states, in addition to Pennsylvania, which is looking good for him, he's over the 270 mark.
Yeah, and then you talk about the top of the ticket, but on the bottom of the ticket, the Senate has now been projected to be in fully Republican control. Goodbye, Chuck Schumer. There's going to be a leadership race in the Senate. We'll see who gets called. But this is an historic, monumental moment in American politics. You have someone who's received the wrath of the American media, of the Democratic Party, of the American judicial system that attempted to put him in jail not once, not twice, but about 4 times. And despite it all, we are hours, if not minutes away from complete victory, and then minutes away from Donald Trump coming on stage and claiming victory to the hundreds of supporters that are here. Speaking of supporters, Megan, I want you to stay close because I want you in on this interview. A man that you all know probably, Bruce Lavelle from the great state of Georgia. He's here. About to hand over my mic to him. He called it. He knows Georgia like the back of his hand. He's been in this game for a long time. Georgia is back in the Republican column, and Bruce Lavelle took a big part in doing that. Bruce, come on in.
Mr. Lavelle, our special guest.
Georgia's on my mind. Georgia, Georgia.
Thanks so much for joining us. What's your take on the Georgia race this election?
Well, I did talk to the president. I saw him at Georgia Tech Arena and in Macon. He asked me twice. I said, listen, we're going to win at least 2 or 3 points. Don't worry. We got this in the bag, and I mean that. And I say that because I've been in Georgia since '88. you know, family there, business there for 30 years. Former party chairman, you know, I'm like immersed in like political culture there in Georgia. So I really believe, you know, I always had this saying, I said, if you see me panic in Georgia, that's when you panic. And there was absolutely no panicking. And by the way, we're going to win. So just for that, for the record. So there's a little more to than just Georgia for me.
Love that. So did anything change from 2016 to 2020 to now 2024?
Well, this
Georgia?
does remind me of a more grassroots approach of 16. But, you know, in all fairness, too, you got to remember the country was shut down. You know, the state was, all these other states, we had Zuckerberg. Remember, he had that, you know, contract with the third-party agreement where he put ballot boxes in key counties, urban counties especially, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Fulton, and Clayton. So those are the top urban counties in the state of Georgia. And then it's like, oh, just stay home. We're going to mail you a ballot, you know, okay. So that's the difference. So, and then we're not dealing with this time. A lot of people are excited. They were shut down. They were anxious to get out and vote. Georgia had record-breaking early voting. I know last Saturday we had 164,000 early voters in one day.
Wow.
64,000 on a Sunday. So that's 250,000 just in the weekend. And then we broke and shattered the record in the history of the great state of Georgia on early voting for Republicans. So when I saw that, on the poll watchers that I had, I was like, okay, now we got it. So yeah, totally confident.
Love that. So you're very well versed, of course, in the political climate of Georgia itself. When you're on the ground and you're talking to people, what were their main issues? What were their main concerns?
Well, I'll give you an example. I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers. There's an old saying, pay attention to the numbers, not the emotions. Like, for example, there's 80,000+ eviction notices in the city of Atlanta. And that's a result of high inflation. People can't pay their rent. There have been a lot of job changes, a lot of layoffs have been going on. Look, we're a big city. You know, we have the largest airport in the world, and it's growing. And then, you know, we have a lot of people that moved to Georgia from all over the place. And one of those signs was that the rising costs. I mean, my God, food is like 25, 30+% that happened in the last 3 years. So they're feeling that crunch. And listen, Georgia has 34% black population. That's one of the highest black populations in the entire country. So, yeah, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. And, and they're like, you know what? We've tried this way, especially black men. They delivered and said, you know, we're not rocking with her. We're going to rock with Trump. And that's a lot of, and I'm glad to see that because I've been down this road for 10 years. I know what it's like if you put a MAGA hat on, go in the hood in 2016 versus when you go in the hood now. They're like, oh, what up, man? Back then it's like, you know, bulletproof vest, hide behind the building. So it has come a long way. So I like to say that a lot of us early guys that jumped out there, early 15, laid down on the sword. That's what I mean, literally laid on the sword in order to open the doors up for other guys to come out and say, hey, man, this is cool. You can come on out. You don't have to worry about being persecuted. You don't have to be, worried about someone coming after you. So it did open that door for those voters.
That's amazing. And have you seen the trend of a lot of actors, actresses, and the talent industry moving from California, like the LA area, to Atlanta? That's kind of like a new hub for the talent industry. Yep. Do you think that changed anything? Do you think they realized the bad policies from the blue states were what drove them out to come now to Georgia?
That's a great question. I remember when, and I disagreed with this, I call it the corporate welfare, when they gave them all these tax abatements to get to entice these big companies to come out there with these generous tax cuts like the movie industry. And to your point, it brought a lot of different cultures. And I guess they thought, well, we'll come out here and keep voting the same way instead of like, oh, wait a minute, y'all need to vote the way we do. So that's a great question you brought up because that did start changing when Georgia was traditionally conservative red. It started turning more blue because we got flooded with the movie industry. We're like one of the top movie industries around the country is in Georgia, especially in Atlanta. So you're absolutely right. So hopefully they'll understand where they came from and like, don't bring that down here to Georgia.
Exactly. And we saw a similar trend going from California to like Austin, Texas, for example. Similar concept.
Oh, bless my heart. Austin went to school down there in college years ago, Fort Hood. Listen, the homeless population they got going on, the silliness, the woke city council, that silly mayor they had about defund the police and all that. Oh my God, baby, they got problems. Oh, they got problems. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. So hopefully we're trying not to emulate that though in Atlanta. So hopefully this vote tonight will transcend all across the country and say, look, it's nothing wrong with the conservative idea of good schools, strong military, good police in your communities. There's nothing wrong with that. So we invite everyone to come in this great tent. And that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. And I know how important the church is in the black community. It's like the cornerstone of the community. So do you feel that because the Democrats have really alienated themselves from Christians, do you think that also played a part in this?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, listen, the best, if you look at the most successful communities, and, you know, RSBN viewers, y'all know this too, the most successful communities are the ones that have the strongest faith-based institutions in your community, whether it be Baptist, Methodist, Christian, Episcopalian, whatever. When it's robustly in that community, 9 times out of 10, that's a pretty doggone good community. So, you know, that's one of the cornerstones of who we are as a culture, is that we're free to worship whoever we want to. But, you know, and when you take that away, you look around these communities that just, and then the leadership that turns from it, what do you think's going to happen? So, yeah, I'm optimistic that President Trump, he believes in family. He understands the, quote, hashtag nuclear family. That's what I represent, my wife for 33 years. And so that's the thing that we want to put out there. The only antidote for a good, strong community is a great family. And for God Almighty to be first at the table, then that order, then you know you're going to have a very successul community. So that's who we're inviting in this great big tent.
Amen to that.
I feel like preaching. We might not have some altar call right now.
We can just start preaching. But that's amazing that I feel like Americans across the board are starting to understand how important the foundation of the family is.
Yep.
Faith, family, and freedom is what this country's founded upon. And I think that all Americans from all different backgrounds are really coming together on that foundation.
Yeah. And, you know, really the world is looking at us, really, because, you know, I always often said, you know, do we want to lead or someone else lead? And that's what I tell everyone. It's like, when you say America first, what's wrong with that? When you go to the Olympics, I remember we were blessed to get the '96 Olympics in Atlanta. I was on the steering committee to help bring the Olympics, and I'm dating myself.
Amazing.
And I'm sitting here like, wait a minute. We got the Olympics from the world stage here in our backyard because we're a city that's too busy to hate. That was our reputation. So let's get back to that type of attitude where this one tent is for everyone. So that's what we're after.
Exactly. Love that. Congratulations on the Olympics. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it was a while ago. But yeah, still a great accomplishment. And congratulations on an amazing election tonight with the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to our wonderful RSBN viewers?
keep the faith, though. We're gonna win. We're gonna get. I think the sleeper is going to be between Wisconsin and Michigan. That might be the sleeper. And if we don't get Virginia this time, I guarantee we're going to get it next time. We're real close. Governor Youngkin did a great job out there. You saw the polls getting higher and higher for us in Virginia. So there's a lot of good states that you're going to see. If we don't get it tonight, we're going to win, first of all. But on the next go around, if we keep the same momentum up, we're going to bring more and more to this great big tent called the America First Tent.
Gotta love it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks
tonight.
for having me. I appreciate it. I'm not as good as Harrison, but I can try. I just got to go
amazing.
I just got to take a little more online tutorial classes.
I'm in good company tonight. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Brother Harrison.
The great Bruce Lavelle. Been in the game for a while, a long time. I met him when I was assistant press secretary for Trump. He came through the West Wing, and ever since, he's really someone you can count on as like a mentor. And he'll never let you forget that he's been in the game for a while. It makes me feel very, very young when I talk to him. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, how old? And he humbles me at times. Great guy. Very loyal to President Trump. Like I said, knows Georgia like the back of his hand. And President Trump knows and respects him, you know, and we'll see what role he may play in a future Trump administration. We'll see what happens. But it's been incredible. You look at the numbers, you know, very clear, still no winner, right? Still no winner. But it's looking great for President Trump. I was talking to someone off camera when I was gone. They're like, well, you know, the blue wall's still standing. Could Kamala Harris potentially win? I said, well, they would have to literally find votes at this point to kind of give her that path, because the path doesn't exist right now, according to a lot of the pundits on both sides. But it's not over until the fat lady sings, as they say. And we'll see. No projection yet. But if you were on Team Trump or Team Kamala, where would you want to be right now?
Much rather would be on Team Trump. We can see victory. We could see the path to victory. As far as the Kamala Harris side, the numbers just don't seem to be there. I really don't think that. And if you want to give a flashback to the 2020 election, in Arizona, Biden only won by 0.3%, which is just over 10,000 votes. So you mentioned they would have to find votes for Kamala Harris. So
At this point,
just kind of reminded me of something. So Joe Biden only won Arizona by 10,000 votes, just around there, 0.3%. Georgia, Biden won by about 11,000 votes, 0.2%. Of course, this time President Trump wins Georgia, so congratulations for that one.
yeah.
Biden won by over 80,000 votes for Pennsylvania last year, but it's looking really, really good for President Trump right now for those 19 electoral votes in Pennsylvania. Michigan, Trump is doing great in Michigan right now, but in 2020, Biden won by 154,000 votes. Polls closed at 8 p.m. Michigan, our eyes are on Michigan, 15 electoral votes. Looking amazing for Trump, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the states that you mentioned, a lot of people back home is like, wait a second, it's 1 a.m. How do they not have results yet?
Yep.
When a state like
It is
Florida
1
had their
a.m.
results within an hour and a half. Again, you talk about voter integrity, you talk about the way different states count their ballots. If the legislatures in these states do not wake up and say the American people, the American voter deserve better than what we're giving them right now, there is no excuse why we still don't know the state of Wisconsin or Michigan, because their two biggest Democratic cities just don't know how to count votes. And I'll say kudos to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is doing a lot better than they did in 2020. I think they could be a lot faster.
Very true.
But overall, Pennsylvania has kind of been a little shocking that the picture is pretty clear when it looks to Pennsylvania. But again, luckily, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, they have their voting laws intact right there. And the picture is looking clearer right now. The picture is looking clearer.
And President Trump is also leading not only in the Electoral College votes, but also in the popular vote right now.
Which you called a long time ago. You had a big number. We won't talk about the number you had unless you want to talk about it.
I still think it's going to happen.
Where are we at now?
I'm predicting 100 million votes for Donald Trump. Right now he's at 65,618,000 some change. Kamala has 60,803,000.
Yeah.
This thing is too big to rig. So many people came out in droves for President Trump. Last election, he got around 75 million votes in the popular vote.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be, he's outperforming 2020.
That's what I'm saying. He's outperforming 2020. Yeah. So 100 million isn't that out of reach if you really think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
rest of
based off of
California
that.
still has to come in. Whatever other mail is, scattering around the country. We'll see. You never know. I don't think people would have believed you yesterday if you would have said he's going to win the popular and the electoral college. But when you just look at the polls, if we took the polls with any grain of reality, if he was tied in the national vote, that's when you started putting two and two together. Like, wait a second. So if he's tied nationally, then that means he's going to win the popular vote. And then if you looked at the battlegrounds and he was winning in the battlegrounds as well, then you're like, okay, he's winning nationally, or at least tied nationally, and then winning in the battlegrounds. How does he lose? So I think when a lot of people in the room were cautiously optimistic for a while, that optimism started to go up and go up and go up, because you started just realizing, okay, we killed it in the early vote, and all of our people showed up today, and we had non-traditional conservatives, black people, Hispanic people, Jewish people, young people, voting for us in ways they've never voted for a Republican candidate before. It almost seems very clear how he could win. And again, no call yet, trying to figure that out. If you're watching at home, you're probably wondering why hasn't there been a call yet. Still some outstanding vote in the blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Hopefully we'll get some clarity on that soon. But the campaign has clarity. There's a reason why Donald Trump will be coming here shortly. His team has given him the clarity he needs, the confidence that he needs to go and address this growing crowd. I mean, I turn around and it's like, wow, here they are. It's a sea of people. So here we are.
The stage is set for President Trump to arrive any moment now. I saw his guys come out and adjust the teleprompter, adjust the microphone. Everything is set for President Trump. YMCA came on. They had his dance on the screens. Everyone was doing his Trump dance in the YMCA. So vibes are high. The energy here is electric. We're getting ready to see President Trump any minute now. And you make a great point about Florida, how efficient they were with their vote count. Pretty much as soon as we got up here, started reporting here in Palm Beach, they called Florida like shortly after, very shortly after the polls closed, and especially with this early voting system that we have now across all these states who are voting for many days and weeks before Election Day. How have they not efficiently gotten their vote count with all that extra time? So early voters came out in droves and broke records in early voting. So of course you had time to count those. And then anyone else who was remaining for Election Day, how can you not get your vote count together by 1 in the morning? We're on the East Coast. We're talking about East Coast states here. We're not talking about West Coast. We're not talking about Mountain Time. We're talking about Eastern Time states that close their polls around 7, 8 p.m., somewhere around there. It is now 1 in the morning, and they're acting like we can't get the vote together.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Florida, they count ballots before Election Day. So if you vote by mail, Florida law allows you to count those votes before Election Day. You have a lot of states like Pennsylvania that don't allow you to even open the envelope until polls close at 8 p.m. on Election Day. So that's why it takes so long to come in. Why aren't they counting these ballots when they come in? We can debate the election law. I think you're going to see a lot of people in the conservative movement go to every state and say, hey guys, you have the power to change this, change your reporting style, change your election laws to make it easier for the American people to kind of get the sense of a victor. We're here in West Palm Beach. President Trump, I hear, is on his way soon. An historic day. Vibes are high. Still too close. Still too soon to call anything. We're going to take a quick break here in West Palm Beach. We're going to send it back to Alabama. You got Harrison Fields. You can follow me at Harrison W. Fields. And the great Megan Kohler. Remind the people where they can follow you.
All social media platforms, you can find me at Megan V. Kohler. And V is like Victoria, my middle name.
Giving them all the details.
V.
We're going to get in trouble if we don't toss it back. Back to Alabama. We'll be back live in West Palm Beach. Donald Trump is said to be en route to the convention center here, live in West Palm Beach. Harrison Fields, Megan Kohler. We'll be back soon. Back to you in Alabama.
You know it was pretty awesome out there, Bobby, when Harrison heard from Fox News, oh, Georgia went to Trump, and he goes, oh, but RSBN already called that. You know, that was quite a moment here. As you saw, the Associated Press saying President Trump won Georgia, but of course, Right Side Broadcasting Network projecting that win much earlier, about 45 minutes ago at this point, it feels like. So anyway, that's Georgia. We're looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. So those are the swing states. Too early to call, but getting close, because those percentages, Bobby, they're in there now. I mean, we're talking upwards of 70, 80% of the votes being counted, right?
And it starts becoming mathematical at a certain point, especially the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. 90% of the votes counted. President Trump with a comfortable lead of 51.2% over the vice president's 47.8%. We're roughly looking at some rough math here, slightly over 200,000 votes in the direction for President Trump. So Pennsylvania drops. It's going to be very hard for her to recover past a Pennsylvania victory.
But what we do know here at Right Side Broadcasting Network is President Trump has not yet been declared the winner yet, the projected winner, the president-elect. Of course, we look forward to saying something like that, but as soon as we get those confirmations and the directives from our ownership, of course, and also AP, we will report as we get the actual numbers in. Right now, as you guys are about to see with RSBN's Christina Loren, she's going to join us live in that RSBN projection room, showing us the specific numbers for those 5 states that we are laser focused on right now: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. It does look likely that President Trump will be the 47th president, but we can't confirm that at all right now until we get these numbers confirmed, not only through RSBN, but of course through the Associated Press, as you see there, President Trump winning in Georgia. So let's go now live to Christina Loren, who is live in the projection room. Christina, it's been quite the night. It's 1:12 a.m. Eastern time. Tell us what's going on. What's the latest?
Well, first and foremost, I respect your journalism, both of you, because we want to do what's right, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. This is a very important news outlet that we work for, RSBN. We've been able to build up a reputation, so that's why we're not calling this election. But I will tell you that as we move forward, we're going to continue to watch quite a few of these races. And I've done the math to kind of give you an idea of what we're watching incredibly closely for you. So let's get in there and get this taken care of. We are looking at Pennsylvania right now. So Pennsylvania is likely to be the next state that will be called, and 51.2% to 47.8% is where we stand, with 90% of the vote accounted for in Pennsylvania. So if that is the case, that's going to quickly bring that total up to 266. That's only going to require 4 more electoral votes once we get beyond Pennsylvania, which does look very good for our President Trump. But again, we want to be responsible journalists. We don't want to call anything before we know. Although I will say, when we had that projection for Georgia, right on point, RSBN called it early. We have leadership here in the House with us tonight, watching this like a hawk. They made the right call, but only based on factual evidence. All right, let's move you up north now. We're going to talk about Michigan. Michigan, 62%. They are going slow in Michigan tonight. Just 62% of the vote has been tallied up at this point. However, the margin is wide. 52.5% going to Donald J. Trump over 45.8%. So we're talking 42 to 45. That is a significant difference. And we knew that that was going to be the case because this is blue collar America. This is the working class that is voting in the state of Michigan. So that doesn't surprise me, although they're taking their sweet time tonight in the state of Michigan. So that likely will not be the next state to come in. We're expecting Pennsylvania. And then after that, I think it's going to be Wisconsin, where President Trump is leading 51.4% to 47.1% in the Badger State. And then, of course, we saw the polls close later in the evening in Arizona and Nevada. Arizona now, 51% of the vote is tallied up. So they're moving faster in Arizona than they are in Michigan. And right now, President Trump is leading by a very slim margin, 50% to 49.2%. In Nevada, this is what's so impressive about Nevada. Finally, we started to get some data, and Nevada is already 75% of the way done. So if we get Pennsylvania and then we get Nevada, we get President Trump. If we get Pennsylvania and then we get Michigan, we're looking really good for President Trump. Same thing for Wisconsin and Arizona. We just need Pennsylvania, and then we're only going to have to wait for one more state tonight. And we're getting so close. Now, obviously, things could happen. We went to sleep thinking that President Trump was going to win. He didn't win. So we have to make sure in the last election that we don't get ahead of ourselves. And the same thing happened in 2016. The vote looked really good for Hillary Clinton, and then in the wee hours of the night, President Trump won. So anything can happen. We want to make sure that we're cautiously optimistic. But based on everything, if you're looking around on X, if you're reading the New York Times, if you're getting some of these headlines that are coming out from MSNBC, it's looking good, guys. It's looking real good. And I think some of us are probably going to cry tonight because this is a blessing and something that we prayed for if it does in fact happen.
Well, this is interesting, Christina, because it's almost as if it was announced or predicted. The Maricopa County officials, if we could find more on that, sure, they had said that this might be 10 to 13 days past the election, and Nevada started counting later than Arizona, and they seem to be getting closer to having an outcome. Now, a smaller state population-wise, but nevertheless, Nevada might be called before Arizona.
You know, it likely will be, and I think when you take a look at some of these congressional races, we are going to possibly have to wait for at least a couple days. But here in the state of Arizona, we are slowly but surely getting there. But take a look at how tight it is. 50% even for President Trump, 49.1% for Kamala Harris. I think a lot of us are feeling a little bit more confident that she's not going to be the commander-in-chief. Again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It could still be a possibility, but it's something that we've all, especially at this network, we've worked so hard to get the word out about how great President Donald J. Trump is. I know we still don't want to make a call because that's not the right thing to do. We're looking at the podium now. You see that live. That is in West Palm Beach, hoping that he's going to come out and make a victory speech. I've been checking his Truth Social page. He hasn't really said much because, again, he's waiting until he knows for sure that he is going to be returning to the White House. But look at that crowd. That is where we could see a raging celebration before too long. I think maybe in the next hour. Pennsylvania will likely finish up here in the next hour. And then after that, it could be Nevada, it could be Arizona, Wisconsin, or Michigan. We're not going to have to wait until tomorrow. I think we're going to have an answer tonight. We're going to be right here with you every step of the way on RSBN.
23 electoral votes to go for President Trump. All he has to do is win 23 electoral votes. So to your point, the pathway to 270 could be a win with Wisconsin. That's 10, of course. We can go with Pennsylvania, and there it is, right there. So we'll see what happens. We're waiting for the numbers to come in. To your point as well, and Harrison was also saying, President Trump, I believe, is on his way to West Palm Beach. As you guys see on the bottom right of your screen there, the crowd in anticipation of seeing President Trump. How loud will that environment be, guys? You know, all of the rallies that we've covered between us three right here, and then all of our hosts across the network, the energy, the joy, the genuine. That's the thing, though. This isn't just some fabricated junk. This is the real deal, genuine, authentic thing that we feel in this country for our country. So, yeah, tonight's going to be quite awesome, and it'll be cool if we can to go up to Nikki Stanzione in Pennsylvania as well, especially seeing what's going on there. So we're hearing some possible news happening here, and we'll be reporting anything. The New York Times saying that President Trump projected. Okay, we know that RSBN right here, Right Side Broadcasting Network, projects that President Donald J. Trump has won the swing state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, won by President Donald J. Trump. 19 electoral votes. When Bobby read about Georgia, I understand where you're coming from now, buddy. Being born in that state, 19 electoral votes, and we are now 4 votes. Is it 4 votes? 20, 21, 20, 4 votes That's away. And then President Trump will be back at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
Wow, President Donald Trump, there it is, guys. 19 electoral votes. The huge swing state is won by President Donald J. Trump. Christina, Bobby, your thoughts about that huge, huge win, guys. We are literally 4 electoral votes away from the win for the main man himself and the outsider, Donald Trump.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think if he wins Nevada, which is now 75% counted, they have 6 electoral votes, but it's those 6 that could carry him over the finish line. Arizona as well. Right now, 52% of the vote is counted there. In Wisconsin, they're up to 87%. It could be Wisconsin that's called next. And then, as we know, Michigan is lagging with just 63% of the votes counted. Bobby McNeely, I know I might shed a few tears tonight just because it has been such an emotional journey. I mean, both of us, we just got off the road covering rallies, rally after rally after rally, and cheering President Trump on all the way, letting him know that there is a news outlet out there that believes in him, that believes in America.
It was really those tearful moments at the last rally, the nostalgia, saying goodbye to those wonderful patriots, especially in the Tar Heel state of North Carolina. Right now, I'm feeling a sense of relief as we get closer to potentially it being official and doing it right, and being not only in the forefront of history, having the privilege of announcing Georgia, and my friend here to announce your home state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth. It's a really special moment, and this is we're born for such a time as this.
We are, and it's something that we have fought for in this country. And everybody that's watching right now, I don't care if it's 10 people or 10 million or 10,000, whatever the number is, we're all in this together. We've been saying that since day one. All of this coverage, all of these campaign rallies, so this is quite awesome. This is quite awesome.
It truly is. And I just want to remind our viewers at home, we called Pennsylvania. RSBN has, this is data that is provided to us by the Associated Press. They have not yet called Pennsylvania. They likely will be calling Pennsylvania momentarily. And as we get closer and closer to a decision, and it looks more and more likely for President Trump, so many of us had our hearts broken last time that I don't think that any of us are actually going to believe it until it happens tonight. I think that we've been so cautious about getting excited, knowing that he's the right choice, knowing that he's been saved by God not once, but twice, and anointed for this very position. But the fact of the matter is, we don't want to have our hearts crushed. The three of us as journalists, we basically took ourselves out of the workforce when it comes to going back to the mainstream media. When you took a stand for President Donald J. Trump, you were taking a stand for freedom, and something that's not appreciated by the mainstream media. I think all three of us recognize the fact that it would be very difficult to get a job for one of these legacy networks. Again, putting it all out there for him, at this point, finally, hopefully, seeing a reward, the greatest reward that we could possibly have, and that is a Donald J. Trump presidency. And America is worth fighting for. And I know there's a lot of other journalists who wish that they would have made the same decision as us, especially if we get the outcome that we believe we're going to get in just moments.
Christina, we're seeing at the bottom of our screen right now that we are now calling Alaska for President Donald Trump as well. So, Bobby, that must feel good as well. Bobby, of course, worked in the state of Alaska. So just seeing even that happen must be a nice thing to see.
And the great people up there, you will have more energy jobs, more energy independence, and will help save not only our country, but the American continent with our Canadian friends as well. Even the socialist Justin Trudeau was begging President Biden to not rid us of the Keystone Pipeline. It's coming back. We're going to frack, 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 and drill, baby, drill. And the world will be safer as a result, and we'll have energy independence in our great country. And Christina, to your point as well, with everything that's happened in the last 4 years, my dream job was cut short. I've spoken on it here because of a mandate. And I'd like to thank the great Joe Seals, the Seals family, our great COO, Grace Saldana, for this opportunity to cover the real news and defend this beautiful Declaration of Independence that I'm wearing on this tie right now, because that's what it's all about. This job that we have as journalists, as reporters, as political commentators, this is the only position that's actually outlined in the American Constitution. About not only the free ability to assemble, but the freedom of the press and how essential it is to a free and fair society. And we did it right. And this has been a wonderful project over the last decade.
It is so true. It is so true. Christina, we talk about the 20 GOP platform promises with President Trump and the new cabinet that he will be most likely picking, as we have not said that he has won yet, but my oh my, we're getting close. Sealing the border, carrying out the largest deportation operation, ending inflation, making America the dominant energy producer, defending our Constitution, securing the elections. There are so many items that he's going to take care of with a great cabinet, and to be a part of being on the right side of history with Right Side Broadcasting Network. For 9 years, this company has done this. and it's for the freedom of this country. It's for the speech of this country, and it's for we, the people. And that is what is great. And at the end of this broadcast, I'm not going to get there yet. We might have something for you to show you guys at the end here. But Christina, your thoughts right now as we're getting closer. It's not called yet.
I feel like,
All right. We can tell you right now, Christina, that Right Side Broadcasting Network is projecting that Donald J. Trump will become the 47th president of the United States of America. He is now President-elect Donald J. Trump. We can confirm that right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Guys, your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, is there anything better? I'm sure I'm going to cry, and especially later on tonight in my hotel room. I'm going to bawl because, God was on the ballot. Freedom of religion was on the ballot. And as Christians, all we want to do is to be able to share our faith and share the love of Jesus and help people find God. And to think that what's happening in Israel, to think about these people who need our help right now, and Kamala Harris continued to pump money to Iran, I think that this is a game changer. The world needs peace right now. The world needs love. Our checkbooks are running dry. People dipping into their savings. You have credit card debt through the roof, record highs. So many people are hurting right now. This is exactly what we need. And so one man leads the movement, but it's God who's in control. And God chose him, and he answered the call, and I believe in him.
Amen. Amen. And I know we prayed before this broadcast as well, and the country praying, the country uniting under someone that has ran and now will be the President of the United States, the 47th Commander-in-Chief. As you guys see at the bottom of your screen, an epic headline, an epic lower third, RSBN, Trump wins presidency. Bobby McNeely, your thoughts, sir?
This is only the second time in American history that someone has come back to serve a second non-consecutive term. And President Trump, if you're still in the motorcade heading over to the Palm Beach Convention Center, congratulations, sir. Thank you for having our backs for the last decade. Thank you for stepping up, you and your wonderful family, really leaving a life of luxury in order to serve the American people. And you have been put through the ringer, whether it's fake impeachments or the lawfare, and ultimately taking a bullet for democracy. And God shielded you. You recognize that. It changed the complete outlook of this campaign, and it truly became, as your son Eric said, a cultural movement. This is far beyond politics. It's not right versus left. It's we the people versus a deep state bureaucracy. And in turn, Christina, to your point, the world will be safe once again under the leadership of Donald John Trump.
So many leaders across the world. Think about it, from Hungary's Viktor Orban to the former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, and others around the world that will celebrate. I believe the free world will celebrate as they hear the news that President Trump is back in office, let alone, obviously, countless millions of Americans. Think about the people right now, guys, right now, wherever people are watching Right Side or wherever they're hearing this news, the joy, the excitement, maybe even fireworks. I know it's not July 4th, but I'll tell you, there might be some fireworks going on tonight just out of joy for our country. So this is very historic, and we are seeing it. We have a front row seat, and as do you. We, the people that are watching this right now, this is all about us. And this is what President Trump said every time he did one of those speeches. He said, when we win the White House, when we win the White House, and we have won the White House. Thank God in heaven.
Amen.
You think about Kamala Harris and truly what a threat that was to democracy, the very thing that they tried to point at Donald Trump for. We have just been given a clean slate, is how I feel. We have been able to turn over a new leaf in this country, whereas we've had leaders who want to spend our money, our taxpayer dollars, recklessly. Our $35 trillion national debt, finally there's a real solution to bring it down. And for our kids, the America that we leave them is going to be in much better hands now, because I think that Donald J. Trump is going to do everything in his power to go down as the best president that this country has ever known.
Exactly right. All right, so we see at the bottom right of our screen, Christina, as you can see too, in West Palm Beach, Florida. So the Palm Beach Convention Center. And boy, does this make you think of a rally right now, because it's President Trump's podium, but this time it's not a campaign stop. As you see right now, the projected